Hi, welcome to the channel again, the Second Opinion Dentist 101. I am, as usual, Dr. DDS Bo Gram with 30 plus years of clinical experience. Today I want to make a video concerning the doctors, quote unquote, my doctors, the people that I put my trust in and why I do this. The doctors I put my trust in to claim what I claim, and it is a claim, and it is all my personal opinion, and not, meant as any kind of personal medical advice or such. I'd also like to urge you to share these videos. As I say, my greatest ambition is to spread this out and make people understand in many situations in their lives that maybe they actually know more and are better dressed to make decisions than they initially may think. So I've made a few points that should explain to you, at least it does to me, why I trust these particular doctors. And I will also list some of the names of these people so you can go and Google them or YouTube them and find out what you think about this. So point number one is the doctors I talk about have all made a 180-degree turn, like me. You come to the game with this idea that, well, it's all about calories in and calories out. But then you find out when you get more information that that is not actually it. And instead of just adhering to the official agenda and the official theories, you start asking questions. And they have all done that. I think several of them admitted that they have learned one thing in medical school, and then they come out and say, well, that doesn't, and eventually they come and say that doesn't really explain the whole picture. And then you do a 180-degree turnaround and come up with something that I today at least believe is the truth. I'm not saying it is the truth, but I'm saying it is something that needs to be questioned. So they offer scientific proof with their videos. They refer to papers that have been done. They explain sometimes how this has come out, and also they spend some time rebuking the theories of what I here will call the opposition, the people that fend for the SAD, the SAD diet, the standard American diet, which the Western world is provided with in most Western countries. So they put in public the papers that they lean on for their opinion, which to me says they're not trying to hide anything. And they can open up to questioning their theories, right? The other side mostly, and this is point number 2 or 3 here, the other side mostly use the tactic of banning people, threatening people, and censoring people. Belittling people actually, so they're not really that keen on showing you the evidence, and they're not at all encouraging you to question these theories. They would rather censor any opposition and ban any opposition from getting hurt. Point number 3, I think it is. These doctors of mine, again, quote unquote, they advise you to do your own research. They encourage you to do your own research. They say, don't just believe me because, that's what you used to do, and that's what I used to do with the mainstream agenda concerning diets. And once you have made this red pill or the 180-degree turnaround, you understand that I don't necessarily have the truth either, but I encourage people to question this, and perhaps we someday can find something that is actually the truth. So they advise do your own research. They are opening for debate. And number 4, they don't try to force this diet on you. They don't try to force low carb, high fat or carnivore diets on you. They explain what they have done themselves. A lot of them have actually gone through this process themselves and been overweight, obese doctors, and then say, well, I'm not really feeling that good, and either I medicate myself or I try this model, which it isn't actually new. It's been going on for hundreds of years, where people say your food is your medicine, and I believe that was Newton who said that, and that's quite some time ago. So they don't try to force it upon you. They don't try to use, mostly they defend this idea against the opposition, but they don't try to use other tools of force, like the climate or animal care and things like that. Of course, they think that I guess they think that you should treat animals properly, even if you eat them, eventually. And I think that anybody that is not a psychopath would agree. So they're not trying to force you into this by using kind of other tools of force, like you are a bad person if you don't do this. Number 5 here is that actually people have been, one of the biggest arguments for the opposition is that, well, the reason that diets rarely function because they don't. It's like 95-98% that will end up worse than you were before you went into this diet. And this has been, that's the main thing, that people don't follow, they don't do what they say, but that actually is not true. There has been scientific papers divulging, disclosing that people have actually in America have followed the guidelines. They have eaten less fat over the last decades. They have moved around more exercise. That means less input and more output. And the result is devastating because more people are more fat than ever. So it's like it doesn't really seem to work. And any good scientist would stop and say, I need to ask questions. Anybody with an agenda would say, no, please let's not question this too much because it's weak, my theory is weak. So for decades people in America have been doing what they're told and with very little and actually wrong kind of result. So my doctors don't use this, I call them mine, I actually have no property rights at all, but they don't use this fear-mongering either. They try to answer questions that are being asked for this, especially the carnivore diet, that it seems a little bit radical that you only eat meat, animal products. And there of course are many different, what do you call it, many different models of being a carnivore, but and people say it's restrictive, but then they try to tell you that actually there are, you get everything you need from a carnivore diet. Vitamins too, fiber, no, don't get fiber, you don't need fiber, that's a whole other thing that you will find out when you start watching these videos, if you do, from these doctors that I'm going to mention in the description. So there's no scaremongering. 7, these doctors also come up with a lot of what they realize is anecdotal evidence, again in quotation marks. A scientist is not very fond of anecdotal material, but I believe that a good scientist would use this as kind of a wake-up call that maybe there's something here. If you have a lot of people that feel better, that get better blood tests, that remove their acne, remove their skin conditions altogether, and generally just start feeling a lot better, feeling younger, feeling stronger, feeling more alive. Well, then it is anecdotal. People come and tell you this, and there's a lot of comments on these videos that will show you that people have really, as what they call, very, very positive results. That doesn't mean that it's good, right? Necessarily, but it should make a good scientist kind of say, we need to examine this in a scientific way. So they understand that they need scientific proof before you start generally on a population start to give people the advice to eat this. So it is based on anecdotal, lots of anecdotal support. However, there's no money in the carnivore diet, at least not as much as there is in the opposition's diet. And if you see some of these videos, you can Google it as well and find out where's the money for the research, where does it come from? And it is pretty obvious to anybody that understands that you do not kill the golden goose, you do not saw off the branch you're sitting on, that it should be very clear that the money for the opposition comes from people who have financial interest in the standard American diet. They don't care one little bit about your health or your well-being. So the problem for my doctors would be that it is difficult to find finance for research to back up their anecdotal proof, and even the proof that they have found out by using the N1 model, which means that they examine themselves. The other side, the opposition, has a lot of money, and they will use any kind of proof, in quotation mark again, of their theory, whether it's anecdotal or not, or whether it's bad science. They use it to ridicule the opposition and ridicule you if you don't believe them. So they don't care. They care much about the result, and they have their agenda, and they want to twist and turn everything so that their agenda actually becomes the truth. So they have the money, unfortunately, from big pharma, big farm, big food, big anything, to support, to give them money to make this science that makes it look like they are right, until somebody that understands science and understand the mechanisms of all these statistical things come and say that no, it's not really what you want to do. And they try to hide this. Sometimes they hide even their own results in their large papers so that you will not see it. But some people can see it. Some people, and these are the people that I like, they go and help me by saying that no, this scientific paper has this and this problem, and that's how science should be done. That's why you have something that's called peer-reviewed science. That means other experts evaluate your results, and you should welcome that if you can park your ego somewhere and actually become a real scientist. So my doctors would question their own results and and welcome debate. So they're actually interested in finding some kind of truth rather than proving that they are right. One of the final points here is that these doctors, they take a great risk. Some of them have lost their authorizations as doctors. They have been ridiculed. If you are in a public scene or in a hospital scene, you can absolutely make sure that, again, the money backing up this, if it's a hospital in America at least, come from the sources that benefit from a non-carnivore diet, let me say it like that. So they take a great risk to help you and me. And as I said, a lot of them have had their careers in smithereens. They have lost, in some cases, the authorities have taken away their authorization. I believe a guy, Dr. Tim Noakes, is one of those, and there are several others that have suffered consequences of this way of seeing the world. When you don't follow the agenda and you don't allow money to make this decision for you. And that of course is bad. Unfortunately, it's very difficult for normal people to see through these papers, and if you just read the conclusion, which a lot of even doctors do, and then you don't care so much about how these results came in the day of light, for the light of day, sorry. Then it's easy for you to just misinterpret everything, and you have to, if you want to evaluate a scientific paper, you need to go into the smallest details. You need to read all of it. You need to understand who made it, even perhaps where did the money come from, and have you any biases, and so on and so forth. Where everybody, what's their age and everything. You have to really go into in details before you can actually say anything. And if you just read the conclusion, you have to ask yourself, who wrote this conclusion? Sorry. So, you actually know more than you think if you get the information. And to illustrate this, I will show you now the picture of the geocentric universe theory, or the heliocentric universe theory, or model. The geocentric is attributed to Ptolemeus. And the heliocentric model is attributed to Copernicus, as you may know. When you look at these two models and these two pictures, I think most people would kind of intuitively say that, well, it looks like the heliocentric model, the Copernicus model, the one I believe is on the right, that looks more sensical, more simple, and most often simple answers are the closer to the truth. So again, as many of my videos end up in, is that can you actually perhaps listen much more to your intuition and your common sense than you might think? Because for many years the geocentric model was actually a little bit like today. The church, the power people in those times, or some of the power people in those times, they were proponents of the geocentrical universal model. And when I saw this the first time, I said, well, that is amazing that these people who actually have eyes and they are connected to a brain, you might hope at least, how they can not do the 180 and say, okay, actually Copernicus is right. Well, it's about the church wanting the earth and people to be in the center of everything. And they have, they try to bend. It's very clear that Ptolemaios had some observations, and he tried to make these observations fit into a model. Whereas Copernicus has had some observations and say, how do I make this make sense to me? And therefore, on the Ptolemaic model, you have all these ballet moves where planets suddenly disappear and come back in the back door and whatever, and it's pretty clear to me at least that cannot be true, at least with the knowledge I have today. And it's much the same in many things, I think, that you have experts, and if you believe experts, you have to understand that some experts don't agree with other experts, and already there, this idea about believing experts is falling apart. So what I suggest, as usual, is that you try to get another expert to come up with their opinion about the subject that you have questions in. Hence the second opinion world. And for my case, the second opinion dentist. Otherwise, you try to make your life easier in listening to the experts, but one expert says that, well, it's obvious, since we are the creation of God, that the earth is in the center of this universe. And the other one says, let's find out what makes sense. Let's just plot down all the observations and do the science, and then we come up with this model. And looking at the two models, it's pretty obvious to me what is the case, at least. And he was surprisingly precise, even if this is a way long time ago. So, share this, like if you want to, but most importantly, share it. And then believe in yourself as the decision maker in your own life, and understand that not all scientists or not all experts agree. In fact, they don't. You always have more than one theory, at least, and you should think about that a little bit and find out that who you want to listen to, which one is making sense, which one is feeding your intuition with a good feeling. So, thank you for this time, goodbye, and I'll see you some other time. Have a nice day.